everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sessions with Paola. Today, we are going to have a very interesting topic. We are going to talk about strip clubs. So, guys, let's talk a little bit about the why, right? Because I think it is so important to challenge assumptions. We often think men think with their dicks, they're selfish, they're taking advantage of these women, and that is just not true. I think men's sexuality is actually really complex. Remember that since men are young, they're taught that they have to be sexually powerful, sexually competent. So when sex doesn't work well in their long-term relationships, the insecurity and the anxiety actually increases. And studies show that men have a harder time to deal when they're not satisfying their partner. Also, a lot of men define good sex with, well, if I pleasured her, if she had an orgasm, then it means that I'm doing a good job. So guys, imagine what happens when you're in a long-term relationship and things are just not working out and you don't have the ability to satisfy your partner. So strip clubs is not only a way to temporarily feel good, you're getting physical care, physical affection. It's a way to, validate yourself. And so you mix these messages about sex with the inability to deal with emotions. And so sometimes strip clubs, just from a psychological and an emotional perspective, it's a way to feel better. The other point that I want to make is that a lot of times when men have grown up really afraid of being rejected or unpredictability, if you grew up in a household where you didn't have consistent forms of love, maybe there was some neglect, maybe there was some abuse, or I also see this in boys that hit puberty later, rejection or talking to girls becomes such an overwhelming feeling. And so when you go to the strip club, it is very protective because you get to skip rejection altogether. As many of you know, as soon as you walk in, you have many ladies and performers coming up to you to ask you what it is that you want. There's also an emotional perspective because the regulars, which are people that go to the strip club often, they go visit a certain girl. And sometimes you find that they open up with them, they tell them about what's going on, and they even talk about what's happening in the relationship. So it is important to understand all of the reasons as to why. The second thing that I want to talk about is when do strip clubs become an issue? Guys, so there's a couple of thoughts that I have in mind. One, when it becomes a moral issue. Let's say that you go to a strip club, but then you feel a sense of shame. Or your partner says, how could you go there and take advantage of those women? You're a bad person. And that starts to live, in a very unhealthy way. It doesn't live good in the body. Also, the financial part of it. If you and your partner are struggling financially, and then she finds that on your credit cards, you've been spending a lot of money at the strip club, this is not going to go well, because then you start to question, well, what are your priorities and why is this more important? The last thing that I want to say is the behavior around the strip club. What I mean by that, if you and your partner are not connecting sexually at all, and then your partner finds a whole bunch of, transactions of you going to the strip club, they're going to start to question, well, is it because I don't look like the girls that you go to see? Is there something wrong with me? And that is definitely gonna affect the sexual relationship. But guys, I do want to help you understand that there's many healthy men, right? Whether single or in a relationship, that visit strip clubs and everything is fine. And we can't assume that the performers are there against their will, right? Like if it's consensual, everybody has a good time. And sometimes it is a healthy way to play out a fantasy. It's a healthy way to play out that power dynamic. The last thing that I want to talk about is couples that go to strip clubs, right? If you've heard me before, guys, I talk a lot about how to keep the spark in the long-term relationship. And one of the things that I often say is novelty and newness. So sometimes visiting a strip club could be, there's a lot of lights, stimulation, performers. But what I would suggest is first, what are the motivators? Unfortunately, women have gotten this message that we have to please, that, men are more sexual, that maybe, I'm going to go because you really want to. There has to be something in it for you as well. And so if both of you are motivated to go because you want to implement a little bit of novelty in the relationship, awesome. If one person goes just to please the other, it just takes one bad experience and then you never go back. And then I would suggest to have some type of agreement. What I mean by that is before you go, right? Like being able to say like, hey, I'm okay with this, but I'm not okay with this. Because what may happen, the person that really wanted to go gets overstimulated and he's like, let's get a lap dance. And then you end up saying yes when you actually mean no because your partner is really excited and you know you may not have a good experience. So make sure you have some type of agreement before you go there. Thank you guys for listening. And I want to send a shout out to all of my beautiful women in the industry that work to entertain us and all the performers out there that do an amazing job. Thank you for listening. And guys, remember, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, Sessions with Paola. And if you have anybody that can use this information, please share it with them. Oh. Well, I guess no more money. I'm out of money. Guys, thank you. Bienvenidos.